date is June 11th, 2020. Whether you're a longtime fan of the Souls series, or you don't even know what the hell a Souls game is, nothing could possibly prepare you for what is about to come later that day. You're sitting through a Future of Gaming showcase for the PS5 on June 2020, and you spot some bangers here and there. Ratchet & Clank finally getting a good next-gen upgrade. Stray is a pretty good concept for a game. Don't see any longevity with it, but more power to you if you enjoy it. And the Spider-Man DLC, Miles Morales, let's be real. While also sitting through some heaps of gooey shit, like Goodbye Volcano High. I'm not trying to pass judgment if you enjoy those kinds of games, but really? If that doesn't jog your memory of the game, then I honestly don't blame you. Given the context of what was about to happen around 2020, the year of the fucking, the showcase puts you in a good spot to get excited for a few games. But you don't exactly know what to expect next. A new IP from a beloved studio, maybe? Another fucking 2K game? Brother, you have no idea what's about to come next. The wide shot of the landscape only for a dragon's talon to swoop in on camera carrying some poor bastard. The shadow of the colossal beast in question covering every mountain below. And before you know it, your size 3 diapers are packed to the brim with excitement. Demon's Souls is coming to next gen. And no better timing than that, since the last true Souls experience was the March of 2017 with the release of Bling City for Dark Souls 3. And true, there is Sekiro released in March of 2019. It was no doubt a great experience, but saying it was divisive between fans and newcomers alike was an understatement at the time, as the difficulty spike made the Souls games look like daycare centers in my opinion. So, to the majority of Souls fans out there, myself included, Gumbly, the idea of Demon's Souls being remade in eye-watering visual fidelity absolutely stole the show for the showcase. But first, a little history for you non-Souls fans out there. Demon's Souls was released out of its clown cage on October 6th of 2019 in North America exclusively for the PS3, while the game was published by Sony Interactive Entertainment in Japan. The game was published by Atlus, who's best known for the Shin Megami Tensei series in North America, strangely enough, due to SIE simply recommending that they localize the game. Even further down this rabbit hole, after some deliberation, it was decided that eventually a PAL version should be released as well, but it also did not have a publisher attached to it, up until Bandai Namco approached FromSoft with the deal. When playing a demo of the game at the Tokyo Game Show in 2008, former Sony president Shuhei Yoshida called the game an unbelievably bad game. Well, a nice guy. While all publishers and the developers expected the game to sell like peanuts, the game actually managed to sell over 150,000 copies in Japan, while over 250,000 hit the West, North America. The game was even surprisingly released as part of PlayStation's Greatest Hits collection in 2010. After that, it was revealed that the game had sold over 500,000 copies worldwide. With the short history lesson being over with, let's start the real video, shall we? This video isn't supposed to be a full-on review, at least in my eyes. It's more like a critique on something that stuck with me a really long time, which is the Souls series. So I'll try to summarize my experience as much as I can. Calling my first playthrough of the Demon's Souls remake an absolute ass-pounding experience would be the understatement of the fucking century. I always start off as a typical sword and board wielding shithead, i.e. a knight, in every Souls game I play my first time. And my god, can the enemy encounters be brutal your first time coming around. It's a similar loop for every connoisseur of the series. The Souls veteran thinks he's hot shit having memorized parry patterns before. He goes in blind and overconfident, only to get flabbergasted in an hour's time. I'm gonna admit, I was that guy. The Boletarian Knights in particular were straight mirror matches for me, which I always found awesome with each encounter. However, frustrations mount when it comes to that particular red-eyed, dollar-stored armored royal guard standing in front of old King Duran. Don't get me wrong. I'm 90% certain they put him there to keep idiots like me from some area of significance, but I didn't care. That fucker was sleeping in the dirt one way or another. After maybe a half an hour of just dying and walking back to him, I finally did the dirty deed, only to discover my kind isn't welcome here. At least, not without the mausoleum key from Ostrava, a knight you save later in that game. That is my cat. Keep in mind, this video isn't a review by any means again, more like an autopsy of sorts. So just bear with me. I can say with full confidence, however, that the bane of my fucking existence in this video game is the Tower of Latria. Great googly moogly. What an experience. The only thing more evil than a walking Squid Game rolling about to ruin your day with a single stun combo is the level design itself. You're guaranteed to get lost for at least an hour or two your first time going in. That's after you figured out there's keys on the walls. I haven't struggled that hard with any other area in the Souls series since my first time in Alien Lois in Dark Souls 2. Luckily, I had some Giga Clown backup, as no Souls game should be taken on alone. I, for one, think Souls games are better with friends. Still, I respect players who play the game solo offline because it can be a handful. After the living hell that was Latria, I didn't hesitate to call forth some silly reinforcements from that day forward. I mean, just look at that mug. Would you honestly refuse any kind of deals he's making you with that poker face? Shits and giggles aside though, me and Hapygourious go through much of the game together. As far as finishing it, really. And let me say, it was one hell of a ride. But it's not all sunshines and rainbows here. No game is perfect, especially not Souls games. And I spotted a lot of areas that could be improved, removed entirely. Fuck you, Valley of Defilement. Just kidding. Or straight up restored, like the cut Land of the Giants Archstone. Think about how awesome that would be to play in the remake. But before I start taking more dumps on one of my favorite games of the past decade, let's go over the good. First and foremost, the fucking graphics. No kidding, Sherlock, you fought tooth and nail for that PS5, and games like Demon's Souls is a worthy reward for that. From that crisp weapon design, from the sound of crushed bone and gore coming from your controller whenever you land a crit on your foe. God, I love that feature. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you everything I like about the visual fidelity, because we'd honestly be here all day. So just watch a showcase on YouTube or something and you'll see it for yourself. Or play it. Something I don't particularly like about Souls games were the character creators. A lot of them either aged like milk, or they make it so that everyone looks the fucking same when you make a normal character. PS3 Demon's Souls. Dark Souls. Not counting the freaks, of course. You guys have your day. But something that honestly surprised me was that the remake had a pretty robust creator, at least comparatively speaking. Hairstyles could use more variety, but other than that, I think it's pretty robust. I don't play a lot of MMOs or RPGs for that matter, so there's no doubt better ones out there. But I'm satisfied with what I got with this game. You want to make your character look like a failed experiment? Go for it. Viking? Done. Clown God of War? You're damn right. Kanye West touring Boletaria? Why the hell not? You can't go wrong with a good character creator in your first game, and this game proves that, because you satisfy both the freaks and your role players. And let's not forget what game we're playing here. The signature Souls combat and pacing. It's responsive, clean, and I have little complaints about it. Most of my frustrations really come from the level design whenever I make a mistake in moving my character. Valley of Defilement. Character animations could not be any better. Everything is so fluid and believable for a dark fantasy setting. From the revamped weapon combo animations, right down to the new selection of emotes. It ties everything I admire in a Souls game in a neat little bow. Hell, it makes me want to commission Bluepoint to redo the entire Souls game in this light. Imagine Dark Souls 1 and 2 in this gorgeous engine, the great environments from 1 and the new coat of paint, call it a proper remaster at that point, and a better fucking movement system for Dark Souls 2. Holy cannoli, snap point movement sucks ass. It would be a treat for everyone if Scholar of the First Sin wasn't in that version of the Havoc engine. But still, there is some room for improvement here. So I painted a pretty good picture of the remake so far, but I've noticed, especially while typing the script, that I emphasize that word a lot. Remake. So other than the overhauled fidelity, animations, and fixes, does the game truly separate itself from the original experience? No! You don't have to be a fucking physicist to spot the difference between the remake and the original game, so let me explain myself here. There is such a thing as being too faithful to the remake, and I believe this game is guilty of that. At the very least, to the moderate degree. I mean really, I mentioned fixes for map exploits being used as shortcuts, but if people are going to find workarounds at the same exploits but with a few extra steps, I don't think you can convince me that this is the same game released in 2009. While Bluepoint was simply asked to doll up the details in the graphics, it still leaves zero excuses for them to not fix the blaring issues with the original game. Demon's Souls is a historical entry in FromSoft library, and deserved a better treatment instead of being the obligatory benchmark release for a new console. It honestly deserves better than this, as much as I'm asking. But by far, the worst offender for this is the fucking man-eaters fight. I mean, look at this footage, dog. It speaks for itself. It looks like it was coded by monkeys. They didn't even try to make it better. And that, in fact, the code, is quite literally unchanged from the original game. Did From not even give them the go-ahead to clean up some of this code themselves? I get the old Havoc engine might have been an absolute hassle to work with, but they could have at least tried to take some liberty there. Now, I don't claim to know how game development works, other than my own speculation, and frankly, I don't want to. That shit sounds like it sucks. So what we're stuck with is easily exploitable bosses, forgettable bosses at that, save for a few awesome fights, bosses you can play Parry God with, abuse God spots with, or play as intended with one of the most slow-faced fights in the series. And don't even get me started on the gimmick bosses. God, Dragon Knight looked so fucking cool in the trailers, but it just didn't translate in gameplay. Not at all. Some of them I don't even know what their point is. The first two defilement bosses are just there to look gross. That's it. I know I'm not at all entitled to a completely overhauled version of Demon's Souls. Don't get me wrong, I'm really thankful we got a remake at all. But can you really blame me expecting a little more than a new coat of paint and some bonus features here and there, after dropping the money of both a new console and a $70 game with it? Do we really need at least 3 variants of each weapon type, many outclassing others in that category? The weapon selection is solid, don't get me wrong, but the word redundant definitely comes to mind when I think of the sandbox in that game. Do some weapons really need to be as busted as they are? That's a stupid question, don't answer that. I'm convinced that the Moonlight Greatsword in this game is just one of the most powerful iterations of the weapon in the series. It's seriously that good, go try it. It's carried me a long way in my first playthrough. Same goes for the weapons like the Dragon Bone Smasher. But then we have the complete opposite side of the balance spectrum, where weapons like the Crisp Blade, Shuttle, and Light Crossbow just eat shit compared to weapons of that same category. Weapons like the Knight Sword, Scimitar, Meridian Hammer outperforming most weapons when you get them from looting. So what you have is a sandbox consisting of more than half the weapons being rendered near useless due to the fact that weapons like the short sword just get immediately outclassed by the broadsword. Imagine that example, but apply it for every weapon type of the game. And the trend isn't exclusive in this game either, but I'm positive there's better examples to be named, like the grafted greatsword from Elden Ring. Sure, it's a good early game weapon if you rush the stat requirements, but if you get something as badass as the ruined greatsword soon after upgrading the grafted sword, then you're left feeling like some jackoff who got duped in the flea market. There's a lot of that in Demon's Souls, especially since I say a good chunk of the boss weapons you can make are just not good, especially not for you spending your hard-earned stones on it. But at the sandbox's defense, if I want to get a particular boss weapon, let's say a Morian Blade, I'll need a +8 sword of any size, which means I can sacrifice my shitty short sword butter knife instead of trading off my +10 Zweihander. So in that situation alone, I can thank the weapon sandbox for being handy at that, which is why I'm 90% certain they intentionally shitty weapons are there in the first place. So, good foresight on their end, I suppose. This one's a bit of a personal complaint, something I think I would have saved a lot of headaches for new fans. Some leniency with the world tendency system, seriously. The simplest way I can describe it would be as a coin. One side's white tendency, the other is dark tendency. By fulfilling actions in certain quest lines, such as slaying a boss, you go towards white tendency for that level, which means easier enemies with the trade-off of less loot being dropped by them. And the opposite applies to dark tendency, which progresses as you die in human form continuously. And good God, is it hard to reverse your mistakes if you go too far in the dark world tendency. Take, for example, the first area of Shrine of Storms, as Pure Black spawns him. Satsuki is here to play, And he's not here to sing Kumbaya together at some Boy Scout bonfire either. He's here to shove 24 inches of Nippon steel up your demonic ass. And if you're underleveled to kill him, you're fucked 5 ways to Sunday, buddy. Unless you can bolt it out of there unscathed from all the skeletons in the area and navigate that maze and kill the boss in one perfect sitting to progress to the next area. Or save quit to reload the enemies. You need to go somewhere else for the time being. But despite all of my frustrations with this stupid fucking piece of shit game, I can't help ever staying mad at it for long. Looking back now, the 2008 lineup of games was truly something else. The Force Unleashed, Metal Gear Solid 4, GTA 4, Nero May Fuck 4. Okay, what the shit with all the 4s here? Persona 4. All of these great titles would have been crushing competition to something like Demon's Souls. This interesting spin on a fantasy hack and slash, magic mastering, preying on your downfall murder fest of a video game. And yet, with unexpected success in the West, it meant that this was an opportunity FromSoft would never get again. And thankfully, they realized that. Is everyone gone? Credits should be rolling about now. But even now, I have a massive confession to make. The sheer number of babies I would pump into the Maid in Black would be enough to rival small orphanages. I'm not even fucking joking here. Every night I see her in my dreams beckoning me to touch the demon inside her. Sweet beans in the basket. I don't even know how much longer I can last looking at her without going full-on feral. Every time I'm pondering whether she's real or not, I turned into that one hard-ass photo of the werewolf sitting down smoking a pack. If I ever saw a cosplay of her at a convention, my jaw would just drop straight to the floor, Jim Carrey style. I would hammer my fucking frontal lobe with a comically sized hammer just to get her to see me. Oh my goodness gracious, I need her. Oh, you don't even know, man.